I'm not much of a gambler, but Nerkmids are pretty fun. So let's spend some Nerkmids, spend like 500,000 Neopoints, and see what happens. And if you guys are wondering why my audio is so potato level, it's because we're here. Welcome back to the parents' house. YOLO Christmas Break 2017. For everyone who's saying to themselves, that's not 500,000 Neopoints worth of Nerkmids, you're totally right. These three are the cheapest Nerkmids, but they're also what I had lying around in my safety deposit box, so let's do these first. These Nerkmids were gifts, and I tend to use them as soon as I get them. However, I let these ones wait around my safety deposit box for a while, so we're going to use those, and then I'm going to go buy some more. The very first Nerkmid I play gives me another Nerkmid, so that's part of a completing self-continuing cycle that I am in support of and welcome. As far as I'm aware, there's no real strategy to playing the Nerkmids and choosing the options. It's sort of a black box where it's hard to detect how the input becomes the output if there is a rhyme or reason. There's probably some kind of complicated algorithm that has a random number generator built in. So thanks, Neopets, we appreciate that effort. But basically the way it works is the more rare the Nerkmid level, the more likely you are to get paintbrushes. So these ones that I'm using right now are all the very common Nerkmids, the cheaper ones. So they have a lower chance of getting a paintbrush, but they tend, from what we're seeing right here, to have a great return at other Nerkmids. And then of course gross foods. So when you're trying to make more wealth on Neopets, playing Nerkmids could be a way to generate paintbrushes. There are a few ways that paintbrushes enter circulation on Neopets, one being the Phantom Painter Jacko, who hands out paintbrushes in a random event. There are some in stock at the Hidden Tower, which Fiora looks over, and then there is the Alien Vending Machine. So if you're trying to generate a paintbrush and you're willing to put a few Neopoints into it, of course you have no control over the output. You could always try your hand at gambling with Nerkmids. But that being said, it 100% is gambling. This first round of Nerkmids led to all gross foods, and of course there were supplemental Nerkmids, and those all together, we just wound up with these three gross foods. Fast forward to the point where I ripped open my bank account and withdrew 500,000 Neopoints and spent it all on random Nerkmids. It wasn't completely random. I searched for Ultra Nerkmids because they seemed to be in the price range where I could get a lot of them. And then when I was in those shops, I saw these other Nerkmids, the Lesser, Platinum, and Ultra Platinum, and I decided to go in on those as well. So we have quite a few Nerkmids here, and I'm going to start with the least rare, so that's the Lesser Nerkmid, and see what happens. Ultimately, the goal here is to get at least one paintbrush, but the goal is also to just use them. And of course, the Lesser Nerkmid, the very first output is some gross food. That's to be expected. Next up is the Platinum Nerkmid 20. These Nerkmids are interesting because they're a currency by the Alien Aishas, which are a really creative subspecies on Neopets. I've always kind of wanted an Alien Aisha. Who knows, maybe Bonkish will stay in the Labre until that output is reached. That's one of those pets that I've never had before. And look at that! That's a Yuzuki paintbrush. A paintbrush was one of the goals of this experiment, so it's fun that I got one so quickly with such a little input even, and this is a rather expensive paintbrush. Back in the day, the Yuzuki paintbrushes weren't that big of a deal, but I painted an Uzuki in the last year, and I was surprised by how expensive of a paintbrush it is now. Of course, this is the paintbrush that I've probably used the most in my Neopets career because I'm such a fan of the Uzuki color. I think it's absolutely adorable. So I'm super hyped. That's the first one that we got. Let's just keep going with these Nerkmids. I think that was a much higher level Nerkmid than these are. But if we do get another paintbrush, oh, and there we go, there's another paintbrush. That's the camouflage paintbrush, which is much cheaper. I'm a little impressed that we got that to happen, 2 paintbrushes in one session. So if you've never done Nerkmids before, this is a quick overview and walkthrough of not only how to do it, but how accessible the outcomes are. because there's just so many things in Neopoints that are like, oh, that's expensive, that's gambling, it's never gonna work out. And being able to make videos about how realistic it is actually, I think, a really interesting thing to do, just because I totally just triggered two paintbrushes to happen, even though one of them is a more common paintbrush and very non-expensive. However, the other one, Yuzuki paintbrushes are quite expensive, so that's really exciting. Now this is gambling, and it's not a thing I do very often. There is a high score list associated with the Nerkmid machine, and you have to do it at the beginning of the month to get on it because it's so popular. And now that we know what all the prizes are, time to price everything just so I know what the input to output looked like. And so I did put in 500,000 Neopoints, and the Yuzuki paintbrush on Jelly Neo's database is going for over 1 million Neopoints. There's only 2 on the trading post and none on the auction house, so I think it's safe to say that I came ahead with, at least 500,000 Neopoints. So that's a good exchange. I'm willing to take those numbers. I'm glad that it paid off, but I also was gearing up for it to be a total wash, which is, most of the things, there's a lot of things I experiment with, and there's going to be margin of error where you just ended up spending Neopoints on something that didn't pan out. But that's, part of the joy of simulation games, is trying to see how you can get an output by doing weird things. And this is much more predictable because this is what the machine is built for. So there you go. I've decided that I'm going to put this Yuzuki paintbrush up for a NeoFriend only auction for the next 2 days. Today is December 22nd, and when this video goes live, this paintbrush will be on the auction house. I'm going to sync it up that as soon as I push this live, I'm going to press the auction button. Also, before we head out, there's a special request. Happy birthday to Melissa Ziger, who has her birthday in the beginning of January. Usually we don't do a lot of shout outs here, but I wanted to say happy birthday. Your partner wishes you very well. Anyways, before I head out, a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters, as well as I will not be live streaming this Sunday. However, next Sunday, New Year's Eve, I will be live streaming 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So December 24th will not be live streaming. December 31st will be live streaming. So this will be probably the last upload before Christmas. So Merry Christmas, everybody. And I will see you probably in an editorial video next week. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.